Hi there, it's Jeanette. Thanks for joining me today. I have a new video featuring the Julie Nutting paper dolls, and this time round I really wanted to create one of my most favorite Disney princesses, which is Cinderella. Now, although they don't have any stamps that are exactly like Cinderella and her dress, I was able to use two of them to create this look. So what I ended up using was the AURORA Julie Nutting paper doll, which is this one here, and then I also used the headband from the Sallie to create the overall look. I had pulled out other paper doll stamps. I wasn't sure which one was going to work well with the others, and I will list the other two down at the bottom in case you can't actually get these paper dolls. They're still pretty much available in most of the stores, but you can check out Amazon or Etsy as well. So I was able to fit this in my MISTI, which I was really happy about. So I'm just stamping it first on some Neenah cardstock. That's going to sort of be my base for the whole page, or the whole paper doll. And then I had some paper, so I just sort of cut it down to be able to fit into my MISTI, and I'm going to stamp different papers with the stamp. So I'm going to have various layers. Now the paper, what mattered to me was sort of the overall tone and color of the paper. So although you see there's some lines running down this, I didn't really mind because I knew I was going to be able to cover it up. So I really just wanted that sort of ice blue sort of color, and then I'm going to be able to work from there. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to color in the skin. So because this is a Neenah cardstock and I stamped it with Memento Tuxedo black ink, I'm able to use my Copic markers. So I'm just going to color in all the skin, and I am going to add some shading. Now once I start layering the different papers on top of each other, that also creates a little bit of shading as well, but you want to start off with your coloration having some good sort of contrast. So I'm just coloring everything in. And for my other paper dolls, I sometimes will stamp like a script stamp across the skin, just for a little interest. There wasn't so much skin showing on this one, and besides I really wanted it to really look like Cinderella, so I didn't do that sort of text stamping. I stamped this one here so that I can use the headband, and then I set it aside. So for this one, I am coloring in sort of the pieces of the dress that sort of sit on top of everything, and I'm just using Prismacolor pencils. Now I had set them aside to take down the numbers, and then a very helpful person in my house decided to put them all away for me, so I'm not sure which ones I used, but I'm pretty sure it was like a light French gray color and then a blue color. And I'm just coloring over top each other, and I'm blending the color with the pencils. So that light color is blending the blue color. And you can see, or I hope you can see, that it's really covering up those sort of faint lines that were on the paper. I'm going to have a darker French gray that I'm going to use here, the same blue. You can see I'm just sort of blending a little bit, and then I'm going to blend with this lighter gray again, and then I have some white pencil out here. Now it wasn't blending the way I wanted it to blend on such a large surface, so I did end up getting my Gamsol and blending with the paper stump here and the Gamsol, and then I really got the look I was after. I then used the third piece that I had stamped and colored the rest of the dress, the other two sides, and now I'm just taking a sort of misting solution. This is like a white opaque mist that comes out. I've linked something very similar. I couldn't find the one I used. I used Mr. Huey's, but I linked something similar, and it just adds a sort of overall layer of white over top of the dress, and it looks really pretty. So I did cut out that main sort of piece that's on the Neenah cardstock. Now I'm going to work on fixing her hair so it looks more like Cinderella. So that was my first attempt. I am inking it up and then using a baby white to wipe away the crown. I don't want the crown. Now I'm going to color in the hair, and I'm just going to sort of pretend that the crown's not there and just draw in that line where the top of her head would be, if that makes sense. So I'm coloring everything in, and even though I'm coloring in that side piece, I don't end up keeping it. I'm going to cut that off after. I'm going to go in with a Copic multi-liner and just add those lines that are missing. And you can see that really creates the sort of hairstyle that Cinderella had. Now I'm using that little piece from the Mermaid for the headband. I'm coloring that up again with the same Prismacolors I used before, trimming it so that there's no white showing. And then I did decide to add some Stickles. I wanted to have it very glittery, so these are some Stickles that I put on, and I ended up putting on a couple of layers and letting them dry. Meanwhile, I cut everything out so you can see all the different pieces of the paper doll, and I'm going to start assembling everything. So I'm assembling it right over top the Nina cardstock. I'm using Nuvo glue. This is a great glue. It dries colorless. The nozzle never clogs. It's always ready to go. And you can see how I'm just layering everything, making sure to line everything up. There's that piece there. And then the other side pieces go over top. And so I think that really does recreate her dress really nicely. And that sort of misting of white just makes it look very magical. There's the headband that's now all dry. I did decide to go in with a white gel pen and just add a few little white dots, sort of to make it look like she had some pearls in her hair, because the hair just, it just looked too sort of drab and one-dimensional. So that sort of added a little extra something to her hair. I'm going to color in her gloves just with that light gray and the white. I cut a piece of pattern paper that I thought was really pretty. It comes from the same paper pack as the paper I used to stamp the dress, and it's a really old paper pack. I can't link it for you, but that's sort of the fun with paper dolls. You can just sort of look in your stash and find bits and pieces of paper that you've kept because you love them and be able to use them. So I did take some chipped sapphire and distress the edges, and then I'm spraying that same white spray over top of it. And once it was dry, I was able to finish off my art journal. So there's my paper doll. I stamped this from a Whimsy die set. This is the Magical Wishes die set. So I have some glitter paper that I stamped the Magical Wishes sentiment out so I can glue that on. And it's not huge, it's not like really it doesn't stand out, but it just adds a little something to the page. I'm really happy with how that looks. Then I took some pearls. I'm going to add the very tiniest ones over here on the side for her earrings. And I did fuss a little bit to get them looking just right. And then once that was all done, I was able just to take some of the other pearls and scatter them around the page. And that is going to again add a little bit of dimension. Oh, before I did that, I did do this very important step, which was to add her choker. So first I put it in with pencil to make sure that looked okay, and then I did color it in with the Copic multi-liner. Now I'm scattering the pearls, and that's the final step before my art journal page is done. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching me create this. I love doing these art journal pages with the paper doll stamps. That's sort of my the thing that I do when I have a little bit of free time. A full list of supplies can be found below this video on YouTube, or you can check out on my blog for more information. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.